Hi everyone, I hope you guys are all having a great day. Today I want to talk to you, I want to share with you my top five-ish most meaningful books in my life, which is essentially my top five favorite, but there are, I really chose these books because they made a difference in my life and I want to share those with you. So, first off, if you know me at all, you're not going to be surprised to find Harry Potter and the Harry Potter series as the number one books on my list. And it sounds sort of silly, like why is this kid's book the top of your five most meaningful book list? And it's because when I was a kid, I had a really hard time reading, and not just with like the motivation fact part of it, but also just the like regular, I just could not figure out how to do it. And I was a really poor reader up until like third grade. And I slowly, things started fitting together in my mind. I got a little bit more motivated because at least I could do it at that point. And then I was grounded one day, found Harry Potter in my room, sat down and read it, and it was the very first book that I just devoured, and it changed my perspective on reading. I went from being a kid who hated it, and it was a chore to get me to sit down and read a book, to a kid who was taking a book with her absolutely everywhere because she couldn't get enough of it. So these books are just some of the most meaningful books I've ever read, because not only are they like wonderful and everybody should read them, but they changed the way I feel about reading, which essentially that changed everything for me. So I read that when I was maybe 9 or 10, and obviously continued the series after that. The next books on my list, I read the first one when I was in high school, and then the second one probably the summer after I graduated. And I know that I said five, but obviously it can't just be just five books. So the next ones on my list are Mere Christianity and the Screwtape Letters. I was given these two books as a graduation present from my youth pastor when I graduated from high school. He also gave us this really cool like pouch of everything a girl should have in her purse but doesn't. So he gave us that funny gift, and he gave me these meaningful gifts. And these books are very special because they were the first books who really challenged me, or that really challenged me to really consider what I believe in. I grew up in a Christian household, but I didn't really think about it that much. And then obviously high school happened and caused me to think about it a little bit more. And then I sat down and read Mere Christianity and the Screwtape Letters, and I was like, well, what do you actually believe in? Does this make sense? And so these books steered me in that direction, and I have continued to enjoy books that cause me to think about those things. So Christian or not, I would recommend these books to anybody. So that was right after high school, and then in college, of course, I suppose I did a lot of reading, but nothing particularly meaningful that came to mind as I was brainstorming this list, which is actually a little sad, but it's just the truth. The next book on my list I read actually right after I got married. I was reading it on our trip, literally right after our wedding down to El Paso. That would be Withering Heights. This book is just a cool, creepy, heartbreaking, classic love story, and it taught me, it helped me see romance novels in a different way, sort of. Like, obviously, well, not obviously, but I do enjoy a good romance novel, but this was the first one that showed me that a romance novel could be more than just Jane Austen, okay, or everything else Jane Austen-esque that we have in our culture. Now, there's anything wrong with that, but I thought it was a little bit limited, and I was bored with that. And then I read this, and it's passionate, and it's heartbreaking, and it's dark, and it's not bad. There's nothing like particularly inappropriate about it, but it's just the most passionate, engrossing love story I've ever read, with two of the most selfish people you could possibly imagine. That would be Heathcliff and Kathy are just devastating characters. I loved reading about them and about their family and just how things got all tangled up in their lives. I've read it twice. Actually, as I was brainstorming for this post, I decided I want to read it again, and I probably will do that, hopefully soon. Who knows, though. Next, I read a couple of years ago It'd be East of Eden by John Steinbeck. Now, like most people probably watching this, I had to read Grapes of Wrath in high school, and I didn't. I maybe got 100 pages into it, maybe not that far. I honestly don't remember, but I did not finish the book for my summer reading assignment. And because I just couldn't get into it, it was too depressing, like most of Steinbeck's works, although I did love Of Mice and Men. But East of Eden, while it's depressing, is different for me because it sort of is almost, I don't know, it's just probably my favorite book of all time. I loved the families. It sort of focuses on two different families and how they develop over the time period, the conflict that is involved and intrinsic with families, how the sins of our parents affects the lives of the children, and how we deal with that as kids, how we can move past it. And it also really hits on sibling relationships, which is interesting to me. And it's a beautiful story. I loved it, and this is probably another one. I've only read this once. It's probably my all-time favorite book. And so I need to read it again. I decided that too. I want to read Withering Heights and East of Eden again before the end of the year. So hopefully I get to that. And then the last one I read just last year, The Shining. Now I know that people probably at this point think I talk about Stephen King a little bit too much. But I just started reading Stephen King last summer, and I can't get enough. And really, so this is why this is on the list though. Not I just think it's an awesome story that kept me entertained, but it opened up a whole new genre for me. I was not the least bit interested in Stephen King or horror or thriller or really anything like that. And then this book was recommended to me, and it opened up a whole new genre for me. And I'm excited about that because it's broadening my horizons as a reader, which is something that I like doing. So those are my 5-ish books that have been the most meaningful to my life. I would love to know what you guys think and what have been the most meaningful books for you. Thanks. I hope you guys all have a good day.